Hello, everybody, and welcome to the URPG Podcast. Yes, we are now doing a podcast for URPG. We're expanding to another section, I want to say. Or I can dream, you know?
Maybe like dungeons.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I am Mikey57, the host, and I am joined by my lovely co-host, Weir.
Hey, how's it going?
We're doing good. We're doing it live. And I am joined by his lovely girlfriend, Kasaria.
Hey, that's me.
We are doing the URPG Podcast. How's it feeling, guys? How are we doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
We're doing good. Kasaria, you doing okay?
Yeah, I'm pretty good myself.
We're doing good. All right. We're gonna kind of go into a bit of background checks for us. You know, this is technically a police office at this point because we're gonna have to do that background check. What are we doing here? Why are we here? Why are we even on URPG? You know, why? Just why?
Well, I'll lead off with that.
All right.
My name is Weirland 20. I've been a part of URPG for a little over 3 months now, so I'm pretty new. I first joined because my girlfriend was complaining about how a Dragonite could one-shot her Aggron, actually, in a FFA. And I said, I'll calc that for you on Showdown. And she said, no, Mons are bulkier in URPG. And I said, wow, that's stupid. And then a little less than a month later, I ended up joining, and I've been here ever since.
Well, he got drunk and he was like, well, tell me about this URPG thing. And
Yes,
then
exactly.
I devoured his life.
I now own 65 Mons, 5 of which are Nukem.
And completely useless?
And completely useless Mons.
Shots have been fired, kids.
I mean, is she wrong, though?
I
5 very
mean,
useless Mons.
let's talk about our boy Leggy Boy.
Yeah, my
Leggy
new
boy?
Nukem. Claimed him right before this podcast started. It's a Hitmonlee. He's a contest king. He's only won 5 right now, but hope to make that a nice Master Ribbon Leggy boy.
Yeah. I guess I'll go next. So I'm Mikey57. I've been a member of URPG since May of 2015. I have done podcasting for the last 6 years, something like that. I started on Radio Whirlwind, which was originally the first like Pokemon radio kind of station kind of thing, you know. And I've done that since like 2012, 2013, Thanksgiving, something like that. And eventually the road led us down to Petalburg, actually, and I met Felly there. And I saw this Pokemon URPG thing, and I was like, what's this thing? And joined it, and I've basically been a member ever since. I have 46 Mons, one of which is about to get thrown into the gifting station when that happens next month. And don't worry, for you guys who don't know what we're talking about in these weird, like, gifting station FFAs, we'll get way more into that in just a minute. But, I decided, after hearing talk of the URPG Times, the basic newsletter, that's been on and off for the last few years, like, somebody will pick it up, then it gets discarded, picked up again, vice versa. I decided we should have a podcast, or try to expand more on the audience, because some people might want to hear us, you know, and try to, bond the community. That's what it's all about, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's basically me. Kasaria, why don't you go next?
Well, I first found URPG on P2K in about 2008. So when I was about 9 or 10 years old is when I first actually joined URPG, back on good old P2K. I really liked stories and wrote some super scrubby stories, and P2K is also where I started to learn how to RP, and the critique I received in stories really basically helped me learn how to write for most of my school years and basically the rest of my life. So eventually I just kind of wandered back about August of last year. Got a little bit into age, but I wasn't very active, and then kind of drifted off. But then around December of 2016, came back full force, and then eventually dragged my boy Weirland with me. And I'm a total scrub compared to my boyfriend with about 20 mons. And I have some similarly garbage nukums like my boy Lycanroc Midday and Clawitzer. Like
Oof,
a real champion.
the real MVP.
The real champion. Yeah. So I've
Exactly.
been around for a little bit. Remember some old names, but that's really about it.
Yeah. So, we've been talking about URPG, but I'm sure the people who are outside of the community listening in do not know what in God's name we're talking about. So, URPG is the the Pokemon Ultra RPG. Without the Pokemon in front of it. It's the Ultra roleplay game. Except there's a Pokemon stuck in there, you know. The game group was created in January 11th, 1999. This game community thing has been around since the late 90s. Such a shocker. It was created in a Yahoo club as the Pokemon Ultimate, or the Ultimate Pokemon RPG. And that kind of died off, but then a new group revived it as the Pokemon Ultra RPG. Shoutouts to White Space Rider Space AU and the Holy White Dragon for making this wonderful, wonderful community start from the ground, you know? And after 7 years, it kind of went to PE2K, the P2K that Casario was talking about for a bit, and it expanded to Bulba Garden in 2010, which then expanded to the Pokemon World Forums, now known as Petalburg's Petalburg Woods Network. And then they closed off the Pokemon. They had an original Pokemon Elite 2000 forum that was closed down in 2013. And then in 2014, their latest expansion was the Pokemon Crosswords forum. Or the Crossroads, not words. I don't know words anymore, you know? But this is on 3 basic forums, Bulba Garden, Petalburg, and Crossroads. So if anybody wants to think about joining, you can sign up there, and what happens is you sign up, you request a starter Pokemon out of the basic. Anything basically goes except for a few restricted mons for being completely overpowered, and fossil mons. You can basically get anything else. It specifies what's not under the legal grounds of question. You get 10k in in-game money. You get a daycare pass, which can be used to teach any move to said Pokemon. And what else do you even get in the starter kit? Am I forgetting the big ones?
Contest credits.
Yes.
Yeah.
Contest credits.
5
Gotta have that.
candies for experience.
Rare candies, yes.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I'm
Pretty
probably forgetting a
expensive
few
start.
things.
And you also get the Pokemon voucher for your first,
Right.
Smart Mon.
So we're gonna go into what URPG has to offer. So we just heard the Pokemart. So the Pokemart has you know what? No, we're gonna start with what makes URPG unique. So Pokemon, right? Depending on what generation it comes out, it has access to every single move it has learned from that generation onward. There is no 4-move limit, unlike the regular Pokemon games. Anything can learn basically anything it has known in either the present, the past, or the future, honestly. You have things like Golduck, which can learn a Petal Dance from back in the 90s when it had its special event, or the early 2000s with Gold, Silver, and Crystal. But it can learn the moves from the most recent title of Sun and Moon. But you can Golduck, for example, can learn any TM that could be taught to it from Gen 1 to Gen 7. Anything that it was able to learn. And it also has the basic level up move pool. So if any level up moves were added between Gen 1 and 7, it was automatically included in the level up list. So there is a lot of weird kind of mind games that come with URPG, because you can have as many moves as that Pokemon could learn in the past, along with... Yes? What? Did I miss something weird?
Oh, no.
Oh, I thought you said something. Sorry. Awkward. Anyway.
We're cutting that out.
Yeah, that's the blooper reel 101. We like to stay on topic. So where was I?
In addition to Pokemon having all of the moves, it's pretty easy to acquire different mons, and there's so many different ways that you can acquire these mons. There's a lot of draw for different sections of the URPG towards getting different mons and experiencing new things and bettering your writing or your drawing capabilities, which is awesome.
Let's go right into that actually. Let's go into the writing and the drawing. So URPG has many different sections to obtain Pokemon. A few handful of Pokemon are obtainable in the Pokemart, such as the pseudo-legendaries of each gen, such as Bagon, Beldum, Dratini, stuff like that. Starters, and then a few, I guess, inclusions that felt balanced for the Mart and to help new players have an easier way to get certain mons that are very strong, like Eevee, Togepi, frickin' Shemelt, and stuff like that, you know? But
Nub Nub Chicken.
the
Those
nub
are
chickens,
starters.
you gotta have your nub chicken and your scrub frog, you know? And you gotta have the John BDM. You can't go on without the John BDM.
Also, all pseudo legendaries are also in the mart.
You already said that.
Well, you cut that out.
You know, we gotta make that extra clear. Let's go a bit into what else you can do in URPG. So, in order to really obtain mons, it also encourages creativity. So, all Pokemon have a rank that is attached to them. They go from easiest to merciless. With, I think the order is simple, or easiest, simple, medium, hard, complex, demanding, and then merciless. Is that correct?
Stupefying and then merciless.
Yes, stupefying is the
merciless.
last one. Yes. So, in your creative department, you have story writing, which is my thing that I try to do when I don't have a writer's block, which is basically any time that is not a contest.
Same, dude.
Same.
Same all the time.
What we do basically is, if you're writing for a Pokemon, you have to feature it in your story enough to really make its presence there. You can't just say, "Oh, there's a Scyther, and I'm gonna write for a Scyther." You gotta include it enough. It does not have to be a main character, but it must be featured enough to really kind of showcase this Pokemon. And you can also write for cash. Cash is money. You gotta have money. You gotta have your EMs. You gotta have your extra moves and your move tutored moves and your breeding moves and all that fun stuff. Also,
And
there's
the good
art.
thing about stories too.
Oh.
No.
No,
The good
what?
thing about stories is that it's not limited to just basic plots of the Pokemon games or the Pokemon anime. You can write stories about literally anything you would want, and as long as you mix Pokemon somewhere into it somehow, even if you are abstract with it, you can still write that story, get critique on it, and catch Pokemon with it.
Very true. That's a big part of the stories, is that it's not written to be captured. Like, you don't go like, I throw a Pokeball at it. LOL. You literally can write any kind of narrative you want. You can write a romance, a horror, all that cool stuff. And it does not have to follow the main Pokemon games. It can be just written as, a nice piece of art that you want to create. Speaking of art, Saria, why don't you take over for the art section?
Art is basically kind of like an improvement-based section where you draw for different Pokemon, and there are rankings based on these Pokemon that same that they're assigned to before. They have a little bit of a different one for art, but it's only shifted a little bit. Art is a system geared towards improvement where people curate your art and give you knowledgeable critique on basically your technique, like your subject matter, your composition, basically all of the design and art principles of your art, while also taking in the thematic elements also. And so it's a really good place to improve your art and also to just have some fun while catching some Pokemon if you're not necessarily geared towards writing. It's, like I said, it was super improvement based, and we grade and curate based off of also your past works, so we can make sure that we're pushing you towards improving and earning better mons.
Yeah. Fun fact about the story section as well. There's also a grader that's assigned to each story. They will claim it, and they will critique your piece, as well as Kasaria said with the art, is you're trying to really improve your writing skills in there, and your storytelling, your grammar, your composition, all that junk. Stuff like that. So that's the basic creative section. We're going to move towards battling. Battling URPG is very different, considering how every single Pokemon has every move it was possible to learn back in the day and in the present available. There is no IVs or EVs involved. Everything is max EV'd, and there's no and IV'd, I guess you can say. Everything has a maxed base total that it can reach. Natures do not play into URPG as much. They focus on a different section.
Part of the park.
Yes, the park. We will get into that in a minute. Battling, it offers a lot of interesting standpoints. You can do different previous formattings from battling. You can do the current meta, which is, Sun and Moon, and then you can do all the way back into the day of Gold, Silver, and Crystal, the GBA clause, as they call it, where it's the four move limit. There's no abilities, none of that. You're just basically going, I'm going to duke it out like in the originals, like way back in the day.
Yeah, and there's even a ref currently who will only ref in Gold, Silver, Crystal mode, which is where all Mons except for Archeops and Slaking have no abilities, as they did in the actual Gold, Silver, Crystal games. And also the special physical split that happened in Generation 4 gets reverted, so certain types of moves are physical or special depending. So some Mons benefited from that and some Mons didn't. But you can even find a ref. In this day and age of Sun and Moon, Gen 7, you can find a ref who's still reffing in Gen 2.
So why don't you go more onto the reffing bit? What does the referee do for the battle exactly? Why is there a referee involved?
Well, the ref is the one who facilitates the battle. So you're trying to have a battle, but this is a text-based Pokemon RPG. So there's not exactly, a computer that will do the job for you. So we have referees. Referees get certified by older members who have been around for a while and been doing referee stuff for a while now. And they basically run the whole battle. They roll, see who sends what Mon first. In URPG, it's typically a open setting. So instead of sending your move to the computer and nobody can see it, your move is sent to the chat in like Discord, say, and you alternate turns sending your move first or not, and the enemy can see your move and predict what or counterplay your move. But then you get to do the same thing the next turn, so it's a really balanced playstyle that I really enjoy. But the ref makes all of that happen. Without referees, there's no battles, and without battles, URPG is much the worse for wear.
Yeah, for sure. Another cool thing about the referee battling reffing stuff is when you do a private battle, like a serious battle, like a gym battle, some gyms or like the Elite Four in URPG exists, they do a private sending format. The ref does the ref job, but there is no sent to the public, nothing sent to the public. Usually what they'll do is you send your move to the ref, so it is played like the original Pokemon games a bit, where you have that mind game set in there. Or you can preview your team, kind of like what they do in the Showdown, basically, I think is the best way to describe it, where you see the enemy team, they see yours, so you decide to try to counterplay on the first lead and the first move, stuff like that. That's basically it for battling. Oh, fun thing about battling.
Huge draw.
What?
That definitely is a huge draw for Showdown players. I'm actually do some competitive Showdown battling, and one of the nice things that I saw when I first came to URPG was, hey, it's not like they completely abandoned, traditional Pokemon battling. I can do private send battles and have a really good time with it, and be have just as much fun as I did on Showdown and URPG, which is a huge draw, I think.
For sure. Fun thing about URPG. is since there's a ref system, there is a cool battle mode that occasionally happens when the ref is willing because it's a pain on them. It is called a free-for-all. The FFA, as mentioned earlier in the episode. So free-for-all is there's a ref. They decide the clauses, the special rule that they occasionally will throw into the mix, and usually like 16 people enter, and then it's 1v1v1v1, and 16 people are trying to go at it for first place. It is the easiest way to make money in the game because you can on the weekends there is a bonus depending on the amount of people entering. So if 20 plus, I want to say, enter, 18 to 20, you get a free 4K for participating, assuming everybody sends. So if you get knocked out early, you make 5K, which is a lot of money. A lot of money nowadays.
Yeah, and we typically participate in most FFAs and do decently well.
Do decently well.
Yeah, you guys, you take the title every other free for all. Cough. Let's go into Casaria again. Why don't you cover the national park, where battling is done very differently and not PvP?
So the national park is basically URPG's PvE experience. It is also URPG's more anime style battling experience. So basically, it's a anime style battling experience in what I guess you could call kind of like the in-game safari. So basically, you create a character for the national park. You give your Pokemon natures, which is where natures actually come in. Instead of affecting battle, they affect the park. What they do is that they give your Pokemon a certain personality, and basically you play to that personality. That personality also give your Pokemon strengths and weaknesses that you need to work with when you're using them in a battle. National Park basically goes, you create a character, you assign these natures, and then you sign up for a park run. The park is divided into different sections that generally are divided by types and, a correct biome for those types. For example, in the woods, you'll mostly find bug types and things like Pidgeys and things like that. So it's divided usually by type. But the one good thing about the park is that you can catch, in theory, any Pokemon, period, in URPG, except for legendaries, of course. So any non-legendary Pokemon, you have the chance of encountering and have the chance of capturing in the park. The drawback to that is that it is completely random what mons you run into. But on the other side of that, you can also purchase items to help increase your chances of attracting certain Pokemon. So essentially, you create a character, you go into the park in whatever area you would like, and a ranger, which is the staff for that section, a ranger RPs with you, and they roleplay with you, and they guide you through the park. Essentially, it's kind of like a D&D style thing, almost. For example, because with the ranger acting almost as a DM, a dungeon master, so that they can guide you and create these scenarios and create like what these Pokemon do and how they react to your attacks. It's super unique in the sense that it's extremely quality based and creativity based. It rewards very attentive writing, and it rewards creativity a lot. Type advantages don't matter too much in the park generally, because as rangers, we usually don't use the URPG calculator to calculate any damage your Pokemon take in the park. So you can perhaps, a high quality energy ball on a Pidgey or something might do more than a low quality Thunderbolt would. So it's really just dependent on the effort you put into your post. And it's really fun because it's fairly freeform. It's kind of structured with the way you're guided through the park, but you have a certain number of encounters and you just see what you get rolled randomly. And it's a lot of fun, and I would definitely encourage people to try it.
Cool thing about it is it does not... since it's a role-play experience between two people, you don't simply go like, I walk to the left. You make a what is the word I am looking for? A composed post for that, for each, turn A, turn B kind of thing, It's a back and forth experience where I haven't done the national park yet. I really want to, and I think Casaria is going to drag me in there one day soon.
Indeed, I will.
Okay, will. This is happening, kids. But you make a text post, you really dedicate to what you're doing, and you communicate with your mon, you do all that kind of cool stuff. You get some control, but at the same time you can't god mod. That it's a very interesting experience that I'm looking forward to trying. Um, let's talk the next creative section that Weir has had a field day on. Let's go into contests. I know you've been hyped up for this.
Oh, I'm so ready. Oh, man. So contests are exactly like they are in the games. In the original Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, contests were introduced, which were basically a beauty pageant for Pokemon. Because, I mean, everybody loves Pokemon, right? Like, everybody loves not just battling with them, but actually, like, interacting with the expansive world that Nintendo has built for us. And it's amazing. So the contest section of URPG, there are many different kinds. There's the original Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald contests. There's the Diamond, Pearl, Platinum contests that were added late in the next generation, Gen 4. And then we have a free-for-all type of contest called festivals, which are quite honestly just a contest with more people, and it gets a bunch of different people involved in the community, and it's amazing. And contests are really a great way for like newer players to make money, because not only do you make money in URPG dollars, but you also make a special currency with every contest done that's used in a place called the Berry Store. And the Berry Store is an amazing shop that has new TMs. It's the only place that you can buy berries, which are very useful items during battles. So, I mean, you have to do some contests to be able to get into the berry store and buy some, necessities for battles. And there's Pokemon in there. So a lot of very cute Pokemon that actually do very well in contests, surprisingly enough. I own one Mon from there that I use in contests all the time. It's a Growlithe, actually. And so that's an amazing part of the section. And honestly, they're just fun. Nobody really takes them as, heart-wrenchingly seriously as battles. So they're a lot more laid back and relaxed, and people have a lot of fun with them.
And they also meme more.
Yeah, they also meme a lot more. That's a lot of fun. And and there's the biggest draw, obviously, is the variety of rewards we have in the Berry Store. And I just recently, about a month and a half ago, became a judge. And judges are the refs for contests. And the section is doing really, really well right now, and I encourage anybody to come out and try them. Especially newer players, we'd love to get people involved in the contest section and show them around.
For sure. There's one more creative section that we're going to briefly touch with Casaria. This is a Petalburg Woods Forum exclusive URPG thing you can do. And it's kind of like the National Park. It's heavy on roleplay. It is called the After Hours. It is not the XXX rated film that's in the back of the theater. This is a, futuristic event. You know what, Casaria, why don't you explain it? Because I obviously don't know much about it.
So the premise of After Hours is that it is a free-form kind of post-apocalyptic roleplay. The premise of the roleplay is that it's about year 3000 or so, and basically the premise is that all of Earth's problems have essentially been solved. World hunger has been eliminated, people have come together, made these awesome technological advancements, and, everything is basically hunky-dory. Except when a comet hits Loveland, Ohio, that happens to bring Pokemon to the world. I like to think of it as kind of a Walking Dead, except instead of zombies, think of Pokemon. This menace to the world basically drove people underground or eliminated most of the people in the surface world, and also drove people to take refuge in space, such as a place like the space station. It also created a subspecies of human, essentially, where the soul of a Pokemon became a part of a either pre-existing or then afterwards born human, and they joined with that counterpart. So you can play as a human, a Pokesoul, one of these aforementioned joined counterparts, or you can play as a Pokemon. You have 3 different worlds you can play on. You can play on the Ruined Earth world. You can play on the URPG Space Center, which is kind of a potential for an alternative genre if you don't like the nitty gritty style of kind of post-apocalyptic RP. There's the space station. You could choose like a high school, or you could choose more of a tame kind of setting. And then there's also the Poke World if you would prefer to do away with all the other messy stuff and just do a kind of Pokemon RP. After Hours is nice because it has a potential to be a little bit of a more darker, mature section of URPG. There are a lot of the things in it can be a little bit more, like I said, nitty gritty. Basically, you can RP amongst yourselves, or you can go on missions guided by staff, which are chroniclers who create plots for you and drive missions so that you can get to rewards. Speaking of which, there are really awesome rewards in After Hours. We have our own shop and our own currency. You get currency for posting, journaling to on your own if you don't want to necessarily RP with people, and we have really awesome shop mons like Ghastly, Slowpoke, Sableye, Staryu, just a lot of really very pretty powerful Pokemon. One of the best parts for Age for me, as both a chronicler and a person who plays, is the mission roulette. You sign up with one or more people to go on a mission tailored to those characters' strengths, weaknesses, history, and personality. So essentially, a RP experience crafted especially and only for you and some whatever companion you choose to take along with you. I think it's a really unique section. It's extremely freeform with you being able to create your own characters, face claims, and abilities, and I think it's a lot of fun. And the rewards are really, really awesome, and hopefully we'll have some events soon that you can try out. So definitely suggest trying it out. It's super easy to get into, and it's a great section. It's one of the newer ones. I think the newest one out of the group, and
It is.
I really like it. So
yeah. So that's basically the premise of what URPG has to offer. Battling, national park contests, art, stories, and After Hours. There's a lot to do in URPG. If you don't like battling, you can easily go to the creative section just to do stuff. Or if you don't really want to do creative and just want to battle, there is completely that option. We're going to move on from what URPG is to a weird section for the podcast. We're going to be doing the URPG Times. We're going to do a brief overview of it today instead of a real comprehensive review on it and stuff like that, considering how we have to, well, we don't have to, but we are explaining what URPG is on this episode. It's kind of a introduction to a new audience who might not be involved. So we're going to try to really give in to what's going on. Anyway, shout out to Metagoth for reviving the URPG Times, and shout out to us for being a part of the writing team. The Times is basically a newsletter, and it covers various different sections on both battling and the creative sections of URPG, which is very free to volunteer for if you wanted to. So if you wanted to be featured and get paid on your work, that is that's a necessity I'd recommend joining into, and totally contact Metagoth. Anyway, so we're going to go a bit into it. There has been a bunch on the Times for this month. There's a battling etiquette written by Felly. I love you, Felly. Shout out, Kappa. It basically just goes over... What?
I want to shout out to Felly too, and I just wanted to say, if it ain't free, it ain't for me.
You can't... We have to fine Weir on our podcast for stealing her catchphrase. Felly will be notified.
She told me to say it.
All right. We'll contact Felly after this just to confirm. Anyway, so battling etiquette written by Felly. There's basically just 3 points of written down information, or 4. Excuse me. There's 4 because I'm totally prepared to talk about this. Number 1, be nice to your ref because your ref has to do everything, and you just send moves and maybe calc behind the scenes on what options might happen against you.
Very difficult job, we'll have you know.
What?
Reffing is a very difficult job, we'll have you know.
It is. No, it is. As somebody who has tried for reffing, it is a very painful process at times. Cough. Don't stat up unnecessarily. This is more for the basic battles. When you have a basic Pokemon that can evolve, it's in its own category of battling. Because, you can, but you don't usually want to throw your Fennekin against a Tyranitar because that will go so well. But the people who, don't have enough basics that send a fully evolved Mon and stat up to just curve stomp when it's kind of obvious who wins anyway is just a little rude. Don't do that.
Basically, do not dragon dance with your Dragonite against an Oddish.
Please don't. It's not fun for anybody. Try not to talk too much in battling. Like what I'm doing right now, I'm talking way too much, Kappa.
Same, to be honest.
Same. I mean, it's cool to have to talk, make comments towards each other, be like, well played, all that junk, but, I mean, focus, like, at least send your moves. Don't go too crazy on the combo. But, the most important thing to do is have fun, kids. We must always have fun when we battle, because battling is a bit of a stressful thing, especially if you challenge a gym. Gym battles is a very stressful thing at times, because even though they have a monotype, it is still surprisingly hard to take down a gym in URPG because of all the coverage that they have access to. Also, Pokemon of the Month for the URPG Times was Leafeon. So if any of you listeners have not already claimed your 1K for owning a Leafeon in URPG, go right ahead and do so in the Times article, which is on Bulbapedia. We're going to go over to Weir, who has written his few sections of the Times himself. Why don't you go on into that, my friend?
Yeah. So I know I'm going to start sounding like a broken record, but I'm really into the contest section. So I did a little bit of a contest recap where I went over a few things. I went over, who was doing well in contests this week. So I chose two of our local experts and connoisseurs in contesting. We have Ace Trainer Liam, who he has the most standard and well thought out but very consistent play in contesting, in my opinion. Right now he's on vacation, so he hasn't got to contest very much since May started. But he's definitely the most consistent contester I have seen. He has the most standard strategy. And he's always setting himself up as the underdog, which is very funny because his contest mon is Arcanine, a literal dog. So I always thought that was hilarious. He plays the underdog as the dog. And then I did a little bit of an overview of one of my friends. His name is Shally, and he plays the most erratic, non-standard style I've ever seen. He startles when he's behind. He moves back in line when there's no reason to move back in line. It's a hilarious play style to watch, and I love watching both of these guys do the contests and everything. And then I chose a rising star, and that was Ghosty Glaceon, who actually managed to get a normal, super, and hyper, which is the first 3 levels out of 4 of contests. A normal, super, and hyper cute ribbon within the 2 days, I think. So she managed to get to the highest level of contests in 2 days, which is insane. It's normally a very slow, long grind to get to the highest levels, and you learn and pick up things on the way, which I thought was amazing that she managed to come just short of a sweep in a master contest. And then lastly, there's a battling section, how to not battle like an idiot, and I decided to requisition for that for how to not contest like an idiot, where I gave some advice, and I'll be giving some more advice next month, so definitely check out my articles. And actually, leading into that, I wrote 2 more articles, both about creative sections this time, so my girlfriend's pretty proud of me.
Indeed I am.
Yeah, just a little bit. I wrote about the art and the story of the month, and while the art is a little bit hard to explain, the story one is really easy to explain over a podcast. So the story of the month is called Saigo's Finest, and it's by Loot. He's a resident member. He mostly operates on the forums. He does some Discord stuff, but he's mostly in it for the creative aspect of URPG, which is an amazing thing. I really appreciate his being around all the time, and it's nice. But it's about a underdog again in the battling world, Furret, a Pokemon not many people think about, the Gen 2 Rattata. and it's about how a boy and his ferret challenge the champion of this alternate poker world, and how they try to conquer a mega evolving Charizard with a ferret, which is unheard of in URPG at least, and definitely in the original games and in competitive battling. But it's an amazing story, and I really recommend you go check it out along with his other works. I think that most people would agree that they're really well written, and it's gritty but also eloquent, and it's amazing. And then the art of the month is actually from a new member, not even 2 weeks old, and I used his art. It's Lychee in Spring, and it's an amazing picture of a dancing Sunflora and Bellsprout dancing in a field of flowers with a giant sign that says Spring in the background, and it's amazing. And again, I really recommend you check out the art and story sections. They're amazing creative sections that I try to use all the time. So, yeah. Sorry for sounding like a broken record on the contest, though.
Oh, no, you're good. Contest is a great thing, but no, I mean, these creative sections are basically some of the biggest life for URPG, and it's a wonderful thing to always check and do, because when new stories come out, these people usually are very, very good writers, and, you know, they can touch people. I was touched by Liam, actually, when he did a writing, winter, I think it was either winter, I don't remember. It was one of the writing contests for either summer or winter, but he wrote a piece about a Mawile and a Ralts and their childhoods. The main character was the Mawile, and over time you watch them grow up, and you watch these two going from best friends to, you know, kind of bitter high school, you know, enemies. And it's about finding one's place and discovering one's self, along with basically everyday school drama, and it's touches a lot of heavy subjects, and it's a wonderful thing to read. Anyway, moving on. We're going to go into Julio, actually, who has been hosting a battle tournament for the last month. He's been hosting the Naval Island Tournament. So, a cool thing about URPG is it touches the Orange Islands. What this tournament's doing is you send 8 Pokemon. 4 are rolled from the ref. And then you get previewed of what 4 Mons each person has, and then you snatch one of them. So you basically do a rotation of one Mon against your will, or each other's will, I guess, and then you battle. I believe it's the 3rd round now, right?
Yeah, it's just going into the 3rd round, and actually, both Saria and I were in this tournament. Just now, I was eliminated in round 2. I actually forfeited. I had some real life stuff come up, and Kasaria just lost in round 3.
To Shally, right?
Off the face of the...
To Shally, yes.
To Shally, when I tilted...
The expert contester that I was talking about.
When I tilted off the face of the...
Well, if it makes you guys feel better, I lost to Ash in round 1. The Ash K.
Right.
So sad. So heartbroken.
You know, Mikey, I'm kind of upset. You know, I thought that when you were going to go over your bio that you would introduce yourself as the Bugmaster, but you didn't mention your gym history at all. Didn't mention the fact that in your Naval Island history you brought all bugs.
You know, okay, I guess I have to owe an explanation. So, gyms are owned by various members and staff. There is, I mean, if you're qualified for a gym, you get it. There's no real staff influence besides your organizer per region. So I run Castalia's gym. I am the Unova bug leader, and I use a lot of bugs. My record is kind of impressive, 7-5, which is unheard of for a lot of people, really... and especially on my end, being a trash battler I am, who takes an hour to send for his first Mon. This is a confirmed thing. I take an hour unintentionally, just calcing and predicting who will send what. But
speaking of having our challenge after this?
No. Anyway, as somebody who sent 4 bugs by accident and didn't really think it through, 3 were rolled against Ash K and his Sun team that he decided to get rolled on him, and I was very tilted. It was a kind of a close battle, but at the same time, it wasn't the best. Oh boy, there is a dog in the house. I am about to be invaded by a dog, I think. Moving on.
That's
So,
awesome.
Kasaria,
The underdog.
This is
the
the
underdog is
underdog, yeah.
invading. Kasaria, why don't we touch up really briefly before our next section on After Hours' progress that you had written for the URPG Times?
So essentially, I'm not gonna go over it too much because it would essentially be the exact same thing I already said in the actual article. But so I have a small after hours recap in the Times that essentially goes over just a little bit of the important threads that have been going on in after hours. Basically, just kind of give everybody a rundown about what's going on in the world. And so this month it was all, I was gonna say mostly, but it has in fact been all missions. But we're looking to change that. If anybody wants to start some individual threads, not mission threads, just with each other, just get some nice, character development going between each other or just some other similar plots, they will be featured firsthand, like first at the top, next go around for after hours recap. We're looking to kind of encourage a little bit more, just interactivity between members, and not just for missions. So if you start a thread within the next month for the next times, I would be happy to feature you for that.
For sure. We're going to move into our next section, which is Pokemon of the Month. So, like in the URPG Times, we will be doing a section and a covering of a Pokemon, and you will be able to claim 1K as well, approved by Monbray. So, you guys are about to make a little money, because this month we're going over Noivern.
Yeah.
Noivern. Yeah, where's the
Oh, boy.
excitement? Yeah!
Lot to say about Noivern. Oh boy.
We're gonna briefly touch up on its in-game usage really quick. Introduced in X and Y version, this dragon flying type is the fastest dragon. This thing is a base 123 speed. This thing is lightning fast. It's incredible. It's a speed demon.
Yeah. It really is.
Special attack stat of 97 base. That is its main focus. Offense being regular physical attack is 70 base, HP at 85, and defense is at 80 each. It's frail enough to be taken down by a strong hit, but at the same time it hits fast and it hits relatively hard in the special attack department. Abilities are Frisk, Infiltrator, and Telepathy. We already know Infiltrator is the best ability because it hits through the dual screens of Reflect and Light Screen and Substitutes. I can't breathe. Help. So Noivern, when introduced, a lot of people had hope for it, but it did not compete with Talonflame as the best flyer. Even though it was fast, Talonflame won in the flying department because of Gale Wings, because it's disgusting and does not needed to be existed. Noivern's biggest trick was choice specs. What?
Leader here doesn't like the flying types, huh?
Shh. You know, this is as
Or the
not
fire.
biased as bugs. As a bug leader myself, I am not biased against Talonflame because nobody can use Talonflame on me since Gale Wings was nerfed. So,
Hey, I'm getting Talonflame from the park. You better watch out. I'll come back.
suck with an extra C. So choice specs was the big thing for Noivern. Usually you have a fair bit of coverage. You have things like Draco Meteor, you have Hurricane, Flamethrower, you have your fair bit of coverage. You have Shadow Ball. So you can hit hard with the choice specs. Fourth move usually would want to either be Switcheroo or U-turn, just to either get out of there faster, switch items. Standard 252 EVs in special attack and speed. The last four either being in special defense or HP, depending on what you would like. And running the timid nature just to make sure you will outspeed most anything against you. Do you two have any move ideas for Noivern in the current metagames? Boom Burst is an option. But what else do you guys have?
In the Gen 6 Showdown meta, I ran Taunt because a lot of Pokemon would either abuse speed or abuse some sort of status. So having a really fast Taunter to prevent stuff like Trick Room going through, all the rest of that was really, really useful. And Draco Meteor, I don't know if you mentioned that. I didn't hear it, but Draco Meteor is extremely useful.
With choice
it's the
specs,
fastest, with the choice specs, but with like being the fastest Dragonmon, a really powerful stab Draco Meteor, and being able to switch out and come back in pretty well, and maybe even one-hit KO something with Draco Meteor is a big boon, especially since it goes through stuff like Substitute and Reflect and Light Screen and all the rest of that. Especially in the games, being able to go through stuff like that is extremely useful.
Right. Kasaria, do you have any... Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. The only other thing I can think of that I used in the games was a extremely fast Super Fang into a unspec'd Draco Meteor, which was really fun. Because nothing could really take it from 50%, take a Super Fang and a Draco Meteor, so... That was really fun.
Right. Kasaria, would you like to add anything?
As far as the actual games go, I actually did not play Gen 6.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed with the gym grind of Oras, so I took a break from the actual Pokemon games, and I never played X or Y because I was so disappointed, even though I really liked Evoltal.
Not to burst your bubble here, but X and Y is Gen 6, and it came before Oras.
Did it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, fine.
I mean, you're
But
not
no,
missing... To be completely fair.
I managed to get... I got my hands on Oras, and then I was actually going to buy X and Y if I liked it, because I actually... Because I didn't want X and Y at the time, because I wasn't really that interested. No, sorry, it was actually Black 2, White 2.
Oh,
that actually pointed me.
There
Well,
you
Black is that's what it was. Well, Black is one of my favorite games. I did not like the remakes, and then skipped X and Y, played Oras, got super disappointed. So definitely didn't go back to X and Y.
I mean, you're not missing much. Shots fired.
Yeah.
XD.
I got to skip Talon.
There you go. You got to skip the Talonflame meta. Gross.
Oh my god. Remember when OU? When Talonflame was like run on every single team?
I used to play OU. When I did Gen 6 competitive, I ran Talonflame, of course, with Choice Band because I loved my Brave Bird Choice Band
Wait,
abuse.
you ran Choice Band?
Because it hits like a truck. I mean,
yeah, I guess it hits like a truck, but not any better than anyone with any sort of better attack stat.
I mean, Talonflame, to be fair, didn't have the best attack stat, so... I mean, it was just the best.
Well, I guess, yeah. Either you banned it or you put Swords Dance and Roost on there and you go to town.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Bring Flare Blitz and Brave Bird and you have almost unresisted coverage.
By the way, this is not Pokemon of the Month for Talonflame. It is for Noivern. Just let's go into URPG's usage with Noivern. Oh, wait. Hold on. Sun and Moon. Nothing changed for Noivern except it wanted to run Life Orb. Next. URPG. URPG for Noivern is... I mean, it's still a speed demon. Yes, we can agree on this. Yes.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It outspeeds Greninja by like 2 points, and then it gets dicked by Ice Beam. But it does that for the first turn. It does outspeed Greninja by like 2 points.
It does indeed outspeed Greninja, which is an awesome boon because Greninja is probably one of the bigger powerhouses in URPG.
Mm-hmm.
So that's nice, and again, like the same things that you love about or you like about it in the games, but a wider move pool. Because one of the things that Noivern suffered with in the games that it shines with in URPG is that it doesn't have to be limited to not having all of these reliable utility options that it really enjoys, right? Like Super Fang and Fast Taunts and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, some of the things I really like about Noivern is that it's like a really fast taunter. It's also a really fast switcheroo user. If you want to have some shenanigans with that, that's actually fun to play around with. If you want to, usually the choice items are not very good in URPG because of the expanded move pools, but it can be fun to put that boon on, that disability on somebody else with a fast switcheroo user and lock them into whatever they use. It's also a really fast U-turner, which is really helpful for URPG's open style, because if you see a move coming that will totally, mess up Noivern, you can U-turn out if you're faster. It can also U-turn out after Draco Meteoring, It has a good special attack, but it doesn't have any way to boost except for snatching boost. So usually you want to exit after your Draco Meteor. It is also a fast Tailwinder, so it can support the rest of its team with Tailwind. Same with Super Fang. It can also get off really fast Toxics, and what helps is that in URPG, a lot of times you don't want to use status moves if you're sending first, but because they can sub, and if they're faster, negate it. But good thing with Noivern, not only is it fast, but it also has Infiltrator, so you can get off a safe Toxic even if you send something like that first. It also has really reliable coverage in the form of both Moonlight and Roost. Moonlight's useful in cases of sunny weather when you want to restore more HP, and its speed lets it be able to strategically use Roost to remove its 4 times weakness. Because when you Roost, for that turn after you Roost, you actually lose your flying type. So if you're stalling for some reason with a Noivern in some situation, you can actually kind of stall a little bit if your opponent is being offensive with ice moves. You can actually remove your 4 times weakness to try to buy yourself some time. If for normally in things like Showdown, it gets destroyed by things with certain HPs like HP Ice. But in URPG, since it's a lot harder to get something with certain HP since they're randomly rolled, and reroll stations for those are few and far in between, it actually manages to wall things like Jolteons that don't have HP Ice. It has pretty decent coverage, getting a wide array of moves like Psychic, Shadow Ball, even Water Pulse for small situational things, gets Flamethrower and things like that. And then it also is a really fast stab Hurricane user. Really useful for Mikey's Bug Gym. And I'm totally not going to bring it when I challenge Mikey's Bug Gym.
Insert thonk emote here.
Thonkang.
Thonks. So that's basically the gist of Noivern. I think we're done here, kids. I think we have almost hit the hour mark. I think this was a successful opening episode. Don't you guys agree?
Yeah,
I would definitely agree.
So closing, join URPG if you feel like you can invest the time to it, because to really commit, commitment's the big thing with URPG is, if you want to do decently well, you gotta sacrifice a few hours and months to really kind of make yourself, what I'm trying to say something here.
Well,
yes.
The thing with URPG is that because it's trust-based, things like updating your stats and because you keep track of your own money, you update your stats, and so it's all very trust-based. You could cheat, but somebody might notice, and B, you would be cheating yourself. So URPG, if you put the time and the effort into it, it has the potential to be really rewarding. But if you do it as kind of you can do it as a pass, of course, as a pastime, because it is, but if you just occasionally hop on, and kind of pop in every once in a while, it's not nearly as rewarding if you set a goal and you work towards it. And that's one of the best things about URPG is that you can set a goal in any area that you want and still be successful. So the best way to get the best out of URPG, I think, is to find your niche and just go for it. Set a goal and shoot for the stars.
For the record, my goal is to actually post an AH on time. And after hours on time, my bad.
A goal he'll never complete.
A goal I'll never complete, and I will never hear the end of it.
Rip. So regarding the podcast, give us your feedback on what you thought of our opening episode. We are planning to do this for once a month around the time when the Times comes out. God, that's a mouthful. If you guys really enjoy it after the first few episodes, we might try to be able to do this bi-weekly, depending. But I really hope you guys enjoy what we're bringing to the table with this podcast. And it's not, after this, we're really going to go into both the Times and just the community itself. We're going to kind of highlight what has been going on, who might have beaten Jim, who might have joined, shout-outs, all that kind of cool stuff. And I guess we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, for sure. So, speaking of which, I've been joined by Weir and Kasaria. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Mikey.
Yeah, thanks, man.
It was really fun.
And I have been your host, Mikey57, and we will see you guys again in the next month when the Times comes out, because I know how to speak. Take care, everybody. See you guys soon.